Hey folks, so today we're going to talk about AI and how it's going to more or less make us lose all of our jobs. Nah, I'm just kidding, obviously. But we are going to talk about AI. We're going to talk about ChatGPT in particular. If you have been following the internet, I'm sure you've heard about it. It's an AI software. This one in particular is by OpenAI. And if you've been following it, then you also know that there's a lot of fear and concern around what it's going to do to designers and the design industry. So let's talk about it. In case this is your first time hearing about ChatGPT, we should probably just talk about what it is. So it's a large language model and it was developed by OpenAI. It uses machine learning to spit back to you very human-like, very intuitive responses. It's gotten a lot of buzz recently because it's particularly good. So it has a variety of uses, as you can imagine, but the most common one that's often used as examples would be like chatbots, and people have used it to, create articles and content creation, that sort of stuff. As for me, I was extremely interested in it because I thought that it could potentially improve my work as a designer, and I wouldn't know until I tried it, and I also couldn't say anything about it until I tried it. So I did. And here's what I think. It's pretty good. It's very impressive. I was so impressed at what it could do. And I actually think there is some validity to the fear and concern around what it might do to the role of designers and the design industry. But I'll cover that in just a little bit. So the way it works is you need to put in a prompt, kind of like you would search on Google. It doesn't just give you back responses and you kind of have to do a lot of the work to kind of look through it and find the right one. It does the synthesis for you too, and it does it in a really intuitive and human-like way. The real mind-blowing part about it is knowing that it's basically scouring the entire internet more or less, or whatever's in the language model, and giving you an answer that is the best answer it could give you across all the information it has access to. So when you think about it for a moment, like the responses it gives you, it can be more inclusive, more accessible, more substantial than anything you can output, and it could do it in a matter of a second. Oh no, it really is gonna take my job away? Just hold on a second, I'll get to that in a minute. So I wanted to show you ChatGPT and how I've been using it to kind of explore how it can improve my work. So here's the OpenAI website, and I typically access it that way. I'm sure there's a better way, but anyway, once you log in, it kind of looks like this, and bottom here is the prompt bar. So first place that I tried to kind of experiment was brainstorming. So for instance, let's say brainstorm ideas for how augmented reality can improve or enhance the abilities of people with autism. Yeah, it only takes a few seconds for it to start generating a bunch of ideas. So you got some social skills training, enhancing communication, improving fine motor skills, enhancing learning, providing, and keeps going. And these are pretty good. It's a great start, right? Now, if you wanted to go even further, you can maybe take some of these ideas, improve your prompt and make it more specific, and it'll get you better results. I've also found that it's pretty helpful for research, finding primary and secondary research. So let's just run through an example. So let's say I'm trying to, find out about habit formation, and I'm trying to use that to inform, the product or feature that I'm designing. So I might write like a prompt, list the most reputable academic studies of habit formation that can inform UX design for a consumer application. I mean, that's pretty specific, right? Yeah, it just doesn't take that long to start listing stuff out. Power of habit, habit loop, designing intervention. I mean, BJ Fogg, very reputable. Hooked, I've read that. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff I haven't read. The list keeps going. It even gives you like a nice little conclusion too. So not only can you use ChatGPT to help you research, you can also use it to help you come up with research questions. So let's run through a little example here. Develop a user experience, user interview question list in a healthcare productivity tool. Let's see what that gives us. Yeah, it doesn't take that long to start generating stuff, and you could kind of tell. All right, so this is pretty amazing. So you can tell from this list that it's taking the best practice of creating user interview questions and kind of applying it and giving you a variety. I mean, it's giving you 10 right there. It did it in like what, 3 seconds or so. I mean, some of these are just so good that you could probably just use it as is, and others, it could just help inform the work that you're doing. So the last example I'm going to show you right now, for me, was by far the most interesting. And I think it's more indicative of what ChatGPT can do for the design role. So look, you and I know that, there's a lot of like set principles and foundations already for the UX design world, right? So I kind of was testing out if it could help create a design system. Hey, develop a UX design system usage guideline, drop down component for a, B2B enterprise software. All right, let's see what that gives us. All right, this is a good thing to use as an example because, I mean, you and I know like what a drop-down component is supposed to be. But as far as the usage guideline goes, I mean, it's taking the best practices, collecting all the different, maybe sections of what a usage guideline might have. And yeah, just listing it all out. Pretty much the work is done here. I mean, you might take this and maybe want to expand or, edit some of the stuff, but I don't know. I'm just scanning this and this is pretty impressive. So would you look at that? Can't you just see now like how powerful this is, like how it could be such a big game changer for designers and for the design industry? So now let's address the concern around ChatGPT and how it might reduce the need for people and how it might really be a negative impact on the design industry. So my take here is that, nah, I don't think so. I don't think you have much to worry about in terms of people losing their jobs. There is a caveat here, and I'll get to that. But first, I think you got to realize that, ChatGPT is only as good as the person creating the prompt. You can't put in generic prompts and expect really good, high quality responses. You need to be creative and intentional about it. And that, as of now, still takes a human to do. And number two, ChatGPT, AI, machine learning, as it stands now, it's still more about pattern recognition than it is about synthesizing information into something completely new and innovation. So in other words, you still need to use your brain power if you want to connect disparate information and to come up with something new. If you want to go and create some output that's beyond the average, that's going to be on you, and ChatGPT might not be the best tool to get you there. So again, I don't think ChatGPT, AI, machine learning is going to replace designers or, humans for that matter in a really negative way. I do think, though, it's going to force us to evolve and redefine what our contribution is going to be and where we prioritize and focus our energy as designers, and for the design industry to kind of mold and evolve to accommodate that. So what does the future hold, like 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line? I think when that question is posed, I think they're fishing for something maybe negative, but as far as I could tell, look, it's unclear, but, my experience exploring it and using it in my own work, I could only see positive things. I'm really optimistic about it. I think it'll enhance our work, especially, it'll take the programmatic things, the mundane things, the things that are like rules and principles that are already set that really don't need to be repeated, that kind of stuff. It'll just do that more efficiently. So then we can focus on, what we can do best. We could really focus and change our contribution to like problem solving, that sort of stuff. And the stuff that becomes more of a commodity, we'll just keep a commodity. However, I also do think we should still be careful with it. I think we should use it wisely. Like for instance, I think there's some like ethical considerations, right? So like for instance, just one little example would be, if you got an output from ChatGPT and passed it off as your own original work, I don't know, I'm not so sure. I mean, I think it could be used as information, as foundation for your work, but I'm not sure if it verbatim should be considered your work. And there's more there, and there's probably other examples, but that's one thing I thought of as I was exploring it. So having that said, I actually have a confession to make. This video you just watched, from beginning to end, was completely scripted by ChatGPT. Isn't it impressive? This was amazing. Not only did it give a really balanced view, like an analysis of ChatGPT's use in my work and my experience exploring it, but it also wrote the script in my voice, in the way I might talk. So I don't know. Now, how do you feel about it?